Hello people and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about where I've been, what's been going on, but prior to me doing that, I do just want to set some ground rules here. So number one, if I seem very stoic when telling the story, you have to remember that I've told this story probably over a good 20 times at this point. It has been something that I just continue to tell. So I'm probably like the emotions and stuff may not be there. Plus, I am heavily medicated. Okay. And then the other thing is these are my kids that I will be talking about. So watch your mouth. I'm not asking you for advice. I am simply sharing this for awareness because I know that when I went through it, there was not a lot of people talking about it, but a lot of people are going through it. So if my experience can help you in any way, I would love that, but just, watch your mouth. Also, I may joke a little bit, not because the situation is not serious, but simply because I laugh to keep from crying. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Because the heaviness of this topic, I probably will not be telling y'all what I'm using, but everything will be listed below. And if it's not listed, the products aren't listed, then it will definitely be in my Amazon storefront. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right on in. Um, and forgive me, I am having memory issues due to this whole situation, so I may not have every single day and I may repeat myself a lot, but again, I am having memory issues because of it. So a few months ago, I want to say maybe three, whenever I went missing, this is when the stuff started to happen. My daughter began to like a little boy at her school, and I guess they were in communication back and forth. Now, I see myself as like a helicopter parent, so I am always in their business, always checking their phone. But as parents, sometimes things go miss. And it's no fault of anybody else. Kids will be kids. I know I was a kid. I snuck and did things that I wasn't supposed to do or whatever. Anyway, long story short, my daughter liked this little boy. He wound up not liking her in the same fashion that she liked him. And so because of that, my daughter decided that she wanted to unalive herself. Okay. Um, and I thought maybe in that moment, the day that it happened, she did not tell me. She told a friend, and the friend's father called me. Well, not me, called my son. Which why as an adult are you talking to an 11-year-old? It's crazy. And I was also home that day, so simply put, like if you were really concerned about what was going on, you could have just said, "Hey, is your mom home? Let me go ahead and talk to her." So, and after I found out about it, I thought, hey, it's just like a little bit of a phase. Give me some time. I'll deal with it in the morning because I know that I have been asking her if she's okay. She's been saying yes or whatever. So I was like, it'll be fine. I'll deal with it. We'll go out for ice cream. We'll go to the movies or something like that. And I'll help her get over the heartache. Now, I was very mad that she decided to text her friend and let her friend know that she was thinking about unaliving herself when I was at home. Like, I'm literally in the other room. My door is open. I have a very open door policy with my children. And I felt as though like I allow my kids to express themselves. Now, is my son a little chaotic? Absolutely. He be expressing himself a little bit too much. But anyway, I was a little bit upset that she didn't tell me, but I needed a day to process it. I also needed a day to process it because prior to that, like, my daughter had been acting a damn fool. Now, keep in mind that my daughter is autistic, and so with her being autistic, she's higher on the spectrum, like as far as like, I don't know, communication or whatever. She communicates very well. It's just she has her moments, right? She doesn't have like learning disabilities or anything like that. She excels very well. It's just socially we always have an issue. So I was a little bit mad because she just broke my neighbor's sprinkler, which I had to pay out of pocket for to get fixed. So it was just, one thing after the other with her. So that night, like I said, I was just going to deal with it in the morning. I wake up at maybe 3 every morning to go to the gym, not because, I like the gym, but because, girl, I don't want to be fat no more. It's hard. It's hard out here when you can't reach your toes. Speaking of which, I was able to reach my toes the other day and do my nails, so I was very proud of myself. But anyway, I wake up and I see my notification from my Ring camera that says there's a person at my door. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, because y'all know I watch a lot of true crime. So I'm thinking, oh, somebody outside, they about to try to come get me. Like, why would you be at my door at 3 in the morning? Like, this is very weird or whatever. So I check the cameras and I find that my daughter left my house at 1 o'clock in the morning and did not come back until 3. Keep in mind, my daughter had been creating private servers. That's why I say we're dealing with an evil genius, not an average 11-year-old here. Private servers on like Roblox, the internet and stuff to talk to strangers. And so because of that, we have taken away most of her electronics or whatever. She still had her cell phone. I want to say no, she didn't have her iPad. She just got her cell phone back. And so when I found that out, I was like, okay, this is very serious. So let's go ahead and get you help. You know, like if you feel like, you know, you don't want to be here no more and this is really did something to your spirit, let's go ahead and get you help. So I wind up checking her into a psychiatric hospital because, and this is where I say like people need to start talking about this a little bit more because baby, I didn't know. I didn't know until I started talking to my boss about it. But I thought you were supposed to directly go into the psych ward. Well, no. In instances like that, when people are, you know, idle, because I can't say the word, when they are idle, then you can take them to the emergency room and it'll probably be a lot better. But I wound up taking my child to Dallas Behavioral, and when I say Dallas Behavioral is one of the worst facilities that you can ever take your kid to if you are dealing with something like this and you are in the Dallas area, do not go to Dallas Behavioral in DeSoto. I'm telling you, don't do it. And now looking back on it, I'm going to take responsibility because I should have known that them folks went up to no good. I walked in, told them what was going on with my child. The doctor sees me and he asked me if she had a history of being idle, and I said no. Not to my knowledge, I didn't know. Anyway, they went and said, okay, well, she's just going to be held for 24 hours. And then we'll release her. And so I'm like, okay, well, 24 hours just to kind of see what's going on. Maybe there'll be a psychiatrist in there that could really help her or whatever. And so I'm thinking, again, 24 hours. They come out and then they tell me to sign a paper. I think we went Sunday. Yeah, we went Sunday. And the paper says visitation isn't until Wednesday. So I'm like, what do you mean Wednesday if she's only supposed to be here, you know, 24 hours? And they're like, okay, well, maybe it's going to be 48. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So what do you mean visitation is on Wednesday again? So I started to get a little bit uneasy then, but again, I did not know the whole inner workings of this or the process of how this is supposed to go. So I was like, okay, cool. So she gets admitted. They don't let me walk her to the floor. She was just like, okay, bye, and left. Now, again, with my daughter being autistic, it is sometimes very hard for her. Well, a lot of times, very hard for her to express emotions. She does not express emotions at all. So the fact that she was expressing emotions about this little boy was a whole new realm for me. So, she gets admitted and I am trying to reach her again because I don't know the process. I don't know how this works. So I'm calling, like telling me what is going on with my baby. Like, you know, what is happening? Like, am I not supposed to hear anything? So then they reach out and I'm calling like the visitation line because you had to call the visitation line in order to get placed on the list, but you had to do that within a certain amount of time. So I'm calling and nobody's returning my phone call. I made a complaint with the, I guess the director or whatever. Still nothing. Still nothing. So finally they say, okay, well, you'll have a family visit, but the family visit is not going to be in person. It is going to be over the phone. Now, how that works is beyond me because what do you mean the family visit is going to be over the phone? Like, I need to make sure that my child is okay. Um, Long story short, I could not speak to the doctor. I had a nurse call me at 11 p.m. And ask me if they could give her medication. So I was like, what are you giving her medication for? I'm not going to authorize you to give her medication if you don't even tell me what she was diagnosed with. So she's like, the nurse was very informative. You know, we talked for a long time and she let me know. She said, listen, I've seen other kids in here and I'm telling you, your daughter is not like them. Get her out of here, because this is just a money grab where they're going to keep her as long as they can. To just get the money. They're not really going to help her at all. They're going to give her this medication and that's it. These kids is in here wilding out. And which I did hear the kids in the background at 11 and just going crazy or whatever. So she's like, get your child out of here. But she said, I'm going to warn you that the moment that you try to have your child released, they're going to call CPS. So just be prepared for that to happen, because normally what they do is they use that as a tactic. People hear CPS and like, okay, well, no, I don't want CPS involved, so go ahead and keep my child as long as you want to or whatever. She says, so just be prepared for a battle, because that's what they're going to do. As I'm on the phone with the therapist, this is somebody different for the family session, somebody walks in, like one of the nurses or one of the staff members or whatever walk in and begin to complain about another parent, like, oh yeah, I'm not about to do X, Y, and Z. Now, mind you, I'm on the phone in a family therapy session to the point where I had to say, excuse me, we're having a family therapy session. You can talk to her about that later, right? I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my daughter. So the therapist tells me, well, I see that you refuse medication. I said, I didn't refuse it. I want to talk to the person that prescribed it. I want to talk to the doctor prior to giving her medication. Like, you can't expect me to just give her medication and you're not telling me what it's for. So she says, well, because you refuse medication, they may be sending her home, because that's just what we do here. We just medicate them. Excuse me? What do you mean you just medicate them? Because I thought she was going here for help since she said she was idle. Okay, so again, that was another red flag, and I began to spaz out because, listen, behind my kids, baby, I offer rock. You understand what I'm telling you? Behind my kids, I don't play. I complain about them because they do be getting on my nerves. But at the end of the day, I don't play about my kids. You know what I'm saying? My money and my kids, don't play with neither one of them. You wind up hurt. So I began to flip out and tell her, like, this is the third day that I have been asking for the doctor to call me so I can communicate and figure out what did you see to even prescribe her this? Like, what was said to even prescribe her this medication? Because mind you, she had only been there a couple of days. So did you really assess her? And so she's like, well, I'm going to have the doctor call you or whatever. So the doctor finally called. When the doctor calls, he immediately is very defensive because I am asking him, what are you prescribing my kid and why? I said, I haven't talked to you in days, but you got the nerve to have a nurse call me and tell me that she's going to give my daughter medication. So I told him, I'm going to report you to the board because that is unethical. I said, furthermore, you haven't even told me when my child was going home or nothing. This man proceeds to tell me, we've called you every day. You a dang on lie. You have not called me. I have called you. Even I've come up there to see what is going on with my kid. I've been up there almost every single day. And the cameras will prove that I've been up there every single day. What you mean? Just like I answered the phone right now, if you would have been calling me, I would have answered the phone. So therefore, and I forgot to mention that night that I talked to the nurse who was telling me to get my child out of there, she told me that in the notes the doctor had put he had reached out to me twice. I said, if I answer my phone at 11 o'clock at night behind my child, and I wasn't even woke, if I answer it 11 o'clock at night behind my kid, you think I wouldn't answer those phone calls that he's alleging that he sent over? Plus, I have phone records showing that he never called me. She said, yeah, they trying to build a case for CPS, right? Because you putting up a stink. So anyway, I talked to him, and this man tells me, well, if you won't allow me to medicate her, you can come get her right now. Boy, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Now, keep in mind, this man told me to come and get my child. Fine by me. Fine by me, right? So when I arrived, the receptionist like, yeah, they don't really be helping people here, girl. Like, it's best that you get your child and come up out of here. Now, again, I say keep in mind that he told me to come and get my kid. So when I pull up, the nurses, they didn't even have her ready. I told you I was going to be here in 10 minutes. You thought I was playing? You thought I was playing behind my kid? So I'm trying to keep my calm in the lobby or whatever. So when they finally bring her down, the nurses try to get me to sign some paperwork stating that I am taking her out against the medical advice. Now, mind you, Your doctor just literally told me if I won't allow her to have medication without him explaining to me what the medication is for, I can go ahead and pick her up, which is what I'm about to do, which is why I'm here. So it's not taking her out against medical advice. It's you told me to come get my kid. I'm coming to get my kid. So the next day, I get a knock on my door. Now, mind you, after I had left that facility, I immediately took my daughter to the emergency room and talked to them, and they were like, no, she seems good, like that place may have scared her, whatever. So the next day I'm at home. Now mind you, the Dallas behavioral had already written a note for her to go back to school. You written her a note to go back to school, but I've taken her out against medical advice. Anyway, CPS comes and knocks on my door and say they got a complaint from her that it was medical negligence or whatever. And so I show her the paperwork. That's what I'm saying. Like, these people were so freaking stupid. They put on the paperwork that they were releasing her and then crossed it out and said I AMA'd her, which is against medical advice or whatever. So CPS, I sent her the phone records also of them saying that they were contacting me and I just was not responsive or whatever. Sent her the records of that. I showed her the paperwork where they crossed it out and CPS ruled it out. Basically, that's what happened. But they had to go and talk to the kids. Just unnecessary drama. Because of that, it caused me to be in a state of distress. And you have to think about it, like, I've never been away from my kids. And especially when you don't know what's going on and nobody's communicating with you, that can really mess you up. On top of the fact that she was idle and she had been saying that she had been cutting herself and I wasn't aware. Like, I had a mental breakdown. Really, I had a mental breakdown. So, like, I was diagnosed with being bipolar, which bipolar runs in my family, so it really didn't surprise me. But I had to begin to get on medication to really deal with this. And in the midst of me dealing with this, like, my daughter is still wilding out, and nobody is really helping because they felt like, even CPS was like, well, she's in a good home and we don't want to take her, whatever. So think about, like, me not being able to have any resources to really help the situation, and it keeps getting worse and I didn't know what to do. We installed several cameras. I'm not sleeping, just being on edge. I had found so many notes in her room that she wanted to unalive me, she wanted to unalive her brother. There were so many disturbing sexual letters in there as well, and nobody was really taking it serious. And most of the people were saying, like, well, you have one or two options, like either you can call the police on her and she can be put in a juvenile center, or it's nothing really we could do, right? So, or you could put her into the psych ward, but then I have to pay out of pocket for that. Like, it's like $300 a day, and even with the insurance covering it, they only cover, I think, 30%, so the rest will fall on me, so it was still expensive. So it's like, okay, I didn't have the funds to really get her the medical attention that she needed, but then nobody is helping with resources either because nobody really wants to deal with it. We have found, like, so many knives in her room, and so it was bound to happen that she was getting ready to do something. And to the point, like, I have people at work telling me, like, I look for you when you if you're not here. Like, I look for you in the mornings, and if you're not here at a certain time, then I begin to worry and check on you, because baby, for a while I was like, she gonna wind up doing something to me or to her brother, because we just could not get any help or assistance. Finally, my therapist was like, you know, I've seen it where kids get help if you sign over your rights. So we were really heavily considering signing over our rights, because I didn't know what else to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, you should have whooped her and stuff. Like, again, my daughter is autistic, so she's emotionally disconnected from, like, pain and stuff like that. So that wouldn't have done anything. And again, because I had never dealt with it, coming from a black family who really believed, like, oh, if you go to a psychiatrist or a therapist, you're crazy. So nobody had really talked about it. I don't have, like, this huge village or anything, so it was just me. And come to find out, like, a lot of people that I work with had gone through similar situations as well, so they were definitely helpful. But again, if nobody talks about it, then nobody really knows. I came to a place where it was like, I don't want to give up on my kid, but I mean, it was like, it's still tough. it's still tough to this day, because imagine knowing that somebody like wished death upon you and you still gotta love them. You know what I'm saying? Like, had it been an outsider or a stranger, cut off immediately. No questions or anything. But when it comes to your own kid, like that, when I tell you that hurt me to my core, but I couldn't even deal with the way that I was feeling because she was still stressing me out. And I had to make sure like nothing happened to my son. And I think that was like the hardest part ever, because how do you choose between two kids? And I felt like that was the position that she was putting me in. And it's like, look, I don't want to have to choose between you or my son, but you're becoming a threat to not just me, but to him. And I can't tell you like the things that we've had to do. I feel like it's kind of like a fire hazard to him, but again, I couldn't risk anything happening to him. It was just a very, and it still is, because we're not fully out of the woods now, but it's a very tough situation to be in. For like being in the emergency room, and I'm talking about like it seemed like I could not get help anywhere. So if you were going through this, like they kind of feel like that's your kid, just deal with it. But it being in an emergency room, and I'm telling her, like, I literally just found knives this big in her room. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was just ordering knives and stuff like that. And I have another son at home. So tell me, how am I supposed to proceed with this? That lady looked me in my face and said, you'll be fine. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I find like it was so hard to get help. And it still is hard to get help. And then trying to get help from the school. Girl, because she had done searches on the computer. Like, when I tell y'all this story is so deep, I don't have time to talk about it right now because I'm running out of storage. But even when I brought her back from being in the psych ward, I was telling the teacher, like, hey, it's this little boy in our class. This is what her trigger was, so maybe we can remove her. That counselor looked at me and said, well, she needs to learn resilience. Heffa, are you okay? Like, I can't curse the way I want to because y'all know I'm trying to clean up, and make this money. But anyway, like, girl, I almost reached across that table and snatched her up. Are you are you insane? Like, she literally just left the psych ward yesterday. And you want to sit over here and tell me that she needs to learn resilience. I'm telling y'all, people not that bright. All right, guys. So that pretty much sums up where I've been, what was going on. Unfortunately, just priorities. This wasn't a priority during that time. Like, I had to make sure we were straight. And every day is definitely a process. None of this is easy, especially because there aren't a lot of resources available. It's very taxing. It's very taxing, but like I said, I'm heavily medicated. Girl, we still working on the dosages. Just pray for me, all right? Just pray for me. And just remember to always be kind to people, because you really don't know what people are going through. Even through all of this, I still had to go to work and smile. And of course, my job was very accommodating, so I appreciate that. My boss was very accommodating, everything. But through it all, like, if you didn't know, um, then you just didn't know. I still tried to keep a smile, even though things at home were very upside down, and every day is a struggle, but we're gonna make it through. Anyway, I gotta go. But I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time.